Okay, so today I spent a good amount of time running through February, what all went down, and my performance alongside that. So I gathered up some notes, and I'm going to go ahead and run through some of those things today. So this is going to be the end of month review for February. Um, this is something that I have just started doing this year. This is the second time. So let me know what you guys think. Any ideas or thoughts around how I can improve these reviews for you guys to make them more beneficial, please let me know. But I'm going to try to keep everything informal. So without further ado, here is the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's get into it. So before I do anything, shout out Lear. Anytime I need a good laugh, we request a blepe, and on demand we get a flame blepe. So cheers to Lear. So quick market thoughts before I run through performance. So the theme for February has been chop, just chop, chop, chop. So February clearly entered the chop phase of the trend. I don't think that the trend is necessarily over or anything, but definitely have to note the clear change around momentum. Momentum basically just died off completely. This is something I've been talking about. I started talking about it probably at the end of January, to be honest, and I just kept, pointing it out. But still, we're still going alongside momentum, just recognizing that it is fading. So definitely had no true intentions of being bearish or anything. So yeah, February ended up being a lot less fun to trade than January. That's going to be pretty obvious when I run through the more detailed parts later on. And last thing to cover here that is pretty important is it definitely seems like it's time to be adjusting our strategies or our approaches. So to lightly touch on that before I do more later on, just the idea around shifting away from momentum to our day-to-day approach being more comfortable with reversion or just being much more comfortable with aggressive profit taking. So let's go ahead and dive into the good. So this is just some review from after running through all my stats and reviewing the market and stuff. This is just my general thoughts. So first and foremost, I have to point out that not getting chopped was basically a win. Um, I'm pretty confident at reversion trading, but I wasn't thinking about reversion at all during February. I was still in momentum mindset mostly. So the fact that I didn't get chopped and still ended up on the right side of things, I'm going to take as a win. I'm going to be a bit harder on myself later on, don't worry. So I was able to successfully rein in the momentum trading a little bit, which the next point, right, more aggressive profit taking. Um, Definitely got stuck in a cycle at the beginning, or rather at the end of January, and when I was first going into February, definitely could feel like I was stuck in a mindset of reaching for that extra juice in the trade every time because I got rewarded for that in January with several trades where they're just, every time it was kind of a reasonable point to take profit. If you were just patient on it, you were squeezing a whole bunch extra out of the trade. I got rewarded several times with that kind of mindset. So at the beginning, I had to sort of adjust to being much more aggressive with profit taking. I ended up round tripping several things until I adjusted that mindset. So I think I've expressed that, but definitely shifting the last month to more aggressive profit taking. And, instead of being that guy that's hanging in there for that 17% or whatever, the 6% rotation, I mean, that's still a massive move on an intraday basis. So we need to not get uh, too fat and happy with the idea of we're actually getting 25% rotations in a day and stuff. We need to acknowledge that that's not a thing that always stays. And I definitely think that that's pretty obvious now that we're getting a couple coins here and there that are doing that. But it's not like a bulk of coins anymore. So next thing to point out, I didn't actually trade that well this month, but what I did do, which is I always try to stress is one of my strongest edges, is just how I build the positions and scale them down. So I didn't even have a good win rate. It was less than 50% this month, which I used to be embarrassed by back in the day. Nowadays I've just kind of accepted this just how it is. What matters is that my losses, were just inconsequential for the most part because just quick to start saying, fuck it, I'm going to start taking 10% off here. All right, I'm going to start clipping out, in worst case scenario, you're that guy that closes out the trade and then it goes to where you want. I mean, but realistically, I know that's our greatest fear around closing our trades early, but the majority of the time that doesn't end up happening. I don't have stats or anything, but I'd have to guess that probably 85%, 90% of the time when I close a trade early, I end up saving myself money instead of it, going to where I thought it would. So I think really accepting that's really the gambler mindset when you're holding on to something waiting for it to go your way and you're underwater or whatever, or just looking weak. So moving on, these are all these points kind of line up together. So I traded a lot less than January, just because there wasn't as many opportunities, which really, it could be looked at as a bad thing, but I'm looking, I want to look at a glass half full that, I didn't force those trades, right? So forcing those trades is how I would have resulted, I could have had a red month, if I forced a bunch of trades. So being patient, overall, I wasn't entirely patient, as we'll express later on. So decent start to Q1. Mainly just I didn't puke my gains back in February is the main thing, from January, which maybe sounds stupid, but I feel very confident in saying a lot of people did exactly that, where they did really well in January and puked February. It's just how it goes. I would have been that person doing that, if it wasn't today, where I feel like I have a decent grasp on my shit these days. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on. It's time to beat myself up a little bit more. So on the bad, so I missed a major hedge opportunity, which is really one of those things where this is really something where I beat myself up on this stuff, and it's actually okay that I do on this one because it really is a huge mistake that you can't really let yourself do. My risk that I have on these days isn't enormous like it would have been back in 2021. So missing the hedge doesn't just destroy me, but it's still really bad practice to miss these opportunities to lock in the hedges. So yeah, basically the goal is to not do that anymore. So pre-planning it is the main way to not miss it. So really what happened was I was a little bit out of sync with things, and then the hedge opportunity came and I didn't realize it until it had already passed. And yeah, so I needed to have my plans in order. That's really how I missed that. So continuing with the bad, I ended up being far less profitable, especially when you factor in how much time I spent, because I spent a lot of time trying to trade, and just ended up with a lot of trades that I was trying to swing for these moves where I'm trying to get 8%, 10%, or whatever, when I should have just been taking 3% or whatever. So that's going to be the generalized theme of this, actually. I hope that's already clear. So another mistake that I made this month that I made last month too, which was, I basically was sizing up my trades on the wrong ones. So when you're playing the beta trade, you right when the dip comes and you see, okay, these are the couple coins that look strong right now. Okay, that lines up with what I already thought from VWAP anyways. A lot of the time, like let's say LDO's up 2% right now off the bottom. Well, I'll look to start placing orders for LDO, and I'll maybe even ape in some right where it's at. But what I'll end up doing is, okay, OP's looking strong too, but it's only up 1% right now, even though it looks good, and I'll put more size on OP, and then 9 times out of 10, I end up with smaller size on LDO, bigger size on OP, and LDO outperforms OP that rotation. So that's a mistake that I actually made again several times this month. I don't know what it is that makes us do that, the chasing the laggard thing. It's a really stupid mistake. So hopefully eventually I'll beat that out of myself. So I'm gonna contradict something I said earlier because I gave myself some credit for being impatient or from being patient with regards to sitting on my hands with trades. But in that same breath, I have to express that there was also a lot of impatience. But this is primarily with managing. So I was patient with not entering trades, and not forcing stuff. But I was very impatient when I was managing some of my stuff. Um, throughout this past month. Um, and frankly, I ended up wasting a lot of time, right? So, really, I just ended up using the wrong approach this month, is what happened. Where I didn't, even though I expressed the clear shift that was happening, I know I said it to you guys, and then I didn't really fully internalize and deploy that on my end, it seems. I didn't really realize all this stuff too until I was doing the review. That's why this stuff can be so important. I'm seeing basically how retarded I was this past month when I didn't realize how bad my performance was until I look at my numbers as well. So, all right, moving forward. So let's get into the ugly. So this is a little bit more on the emotional side. Now this was definitely popped up today during the review. I didn't even realize this until I was doing my review, but I'm just straight up disappointed with my performance. I didn't even hit double digits this month, which is something that I definitely strive for. And I didn't even do that this month. So definitely disappointed with myself, but it is what it is. Another thing that was quite ugly this month is I still, calling it emotional responses, definitely yelling at my self and my monitors a little bit more than I should. That's what my notes say at least. So I'm going to point that, add this into these notes and point that out again. I missed a lot of pre-planned setups, which was, that's definitely pretty ugly execution right there. I know I draw the plan, I put the alert, and then I didn't take the trade. I did that a lot this month. In January, I was just straight up aping everything and had like no fear. This month around, I definitely had a lot more fear. It seems with aping my setups when they came. Let's see. Yeah, I also puked a lot of good plays. Which kind of ties into the similar with the missing the pre-planned. They go hand in hand, right? You puke a good play and you miss a play, and it kind of feeds into itself where you're more prone to making those mistakes. I feel like it's like a reoccurring thing, or like self-fulfilling prophecy, something. I don't know. I'm just making it up as I go right now. So yeah, that's thoughts on that. So a lot of stupid pukes, and then I would be feeling bad about shit. So then when a setup would come, I would miss it. And this is kind of all ties into everything, from earlier, like with the missed hedge where I had a perfect opportunity to short quite high on a classic comp view op retest setup, and I just didn't take it. It would have been right at the top pretty much too. So the last thing with this is I still do need to try to be kinder to myself after the fact, after I make these mistakes. Because like I was just kind of saying, it kind of ties into the same thing. You make a mistake, and if you don't just get through that mistake immediately, if you dwell on it even a little bit, or even if it's in the back of your mind even at all, it does make you more prone to making other mistakes. So like, yeah, definitely had a couple of moments this month where I think I was too hard on myself, which probably is what fed into some of the other mistakes, to be honest. Okay, so closing thoughts. So this is some of the really important stuff here. So closing thoughts. One of the most important things, definitely, I think it's time to for me personally to shift back more to reading flows and aggressive profit taking. So rather than relying more on beta trading, which I should have made this change earlier in February. I started to make it later in February, but it was I was a little bit late on this transition. But so I think it's important to not chase beta as much and to try to read flows more and be more aggressive. So next thing is it time to deploy more reversion? And again, this is something, this question should have been asked 3 weeks ago, in a more serious way. You know, I brought it up. I didn't stress it fully, but yeah. So, should reversion have been deployed? Absolutely, it should be, and it should be continued to be. You know, so for the lower time frame stuff. So, you know, which ties into the next question, which is, you know, switching back to intraday rather than being more patient, sitting in trades for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever, waiting for these bigger moves. Should I be switching back to intraday? And I do think that I should be switching back to intraday a little bit more and deploying more reversion. So those are definitely some of the plans moving forward, going into the beginning of March here. So another thing, I don't know if it's stupid, but you know, just getting my thoughts out earlier. Should always be asking with these trade setups, do I have something to gain, right? Really asking yourself the opportunity cost. I had, you know, if I compare this against January, I had so many trades where I just sat in them for really long periods of time, which, you know, not only am I wasting my most important resource, which is time itself, but I'm just like missing other plays and stuff because I have my attention and my capital already allocated to these things. When if I wasn't in those trades, I could have, you know, found better opportunities. So it's really important that we ask ourselves opportunity costs when we're sitting in positions and stuff. And yeah, closing thing to summarize this whole video is basically it looks like true intraday trading is back on the table. No more of this sitting trades for 8 hours anymore. I don't think that that's what I'm going to be doing. I think I'm going to be much more intraday. So you can expect intraday content as a result. So hopefully you guys found this to be useful in some way. Please, if you have any feedback about how I can improve these kind of things, let me know, because I'm always looking to do a better job with this kind of stuff. But yeah, it got quiet in my house, so I had an opportunity to record a video, and I took that opportunity. I always want to keep these things informal. So yeah, let me know. Cheers, guys.